Hello everyone, and welcome to Dutch Greybeard. It is September 23 and me and my girlfriend Loes are at Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam. Earlier that morning we had received a text message from Scythe Airlines saying that our flight to Oslo was cancelled. Just like that. We apologize and are working to find you a new flight. We figured we had a better chance of fixing this at the airport than from our home. I will not go into the abhorrently bad service of Scythe, but no thanks to them, our flight was rescheduled to leave at 7 p.m. Obviously, our two connecting flights, which eventually would bring us to Svolvær, were rescheduled to the next day. Anyway, we checked in our suitcases and found a nice quiet spot at the airport to spend the rest of the day waiting for our flight. Too late, I realized I put my book in the suitcase, so there I was at the Amsterdam airport with time on my hands, but without a book to read. Unacceptable, of course. At the bookstore I found several candidates to fill in the void. Eventually I decided on All Better Now by Neal Shusterman. I had read his Arc of a Scythe series at the beginning of this year and was deeply impressed by them. On my shelves were his Unbound series, waiting to be picked up. I had not heard of All Better Now, and even though I was not planning on stepping outside of my TBR, this seemed to be my best option. During my holidays I read very little. I don't go to unknown places to read books. I am there to experience the country, the sights and the landscape. I spent some 10 days with this one, and it surprised me in a very positive way. Even though this one is dubbed as a young adult thriller, I wouldn't call it young adult, and I wouldn't call it fantasy nor a thriller. Into which genre it really falls, I will leave for the experts to decide. The story is about this new pandemic that has broken out. Not corona this time. That pandemic exposed the very worst of human nature on all sides. But Crown Royal. Just as contagious and dangerous as corona was, only there is a major difference. Those who survive the Crown Royal virus, there is a 96% survival rate. The so-called recoveries experience a strange effect, utter contentment. For what seems to be for an indefinite time, the stress, the greed and the misery that used to weigh these people down are simply gone. One example of the kind of contentment we're talking about here. A long married couple catches the virus. The day they both recovered, his wife took his hands warmly, told him that she didn't love him, and in fact had never actually loved him. But that was perfectly all right, because everything was all right once you recovered from Crown Royal. They laughed, they shared some champagne, and she left to embrace her newfound sense of completion. Rather than feeling pain or grief, Delberg felt profoundly grateful for the time they had shared and was content in knowing that they were both now free to pursue whatever came next. The virus changes society in a way that could never have been predicted. The people who so far have avoided affection do not want their businesses or the economy to collapse, and they go to great lengths to eliminate this new virus. On the other side of the spectrum are the recoveries, who regard this virus as the final chance for humanity to redeem itself. So, in a way, like we experienced with Corona, the world divides into two camps, each with their own belief system. We follow several characters in both camps, which results in hilarious, heartbreaking and mind-boggling scenes. Like with the Arc of a Scythe, Shusterman has given his readers much to think about. One of the characters, Tiburon Tigre Escobedo, Ron for short, is the son of one of the richest men on earth, but he has a tendency to depression. Although Blas Escobedo could buy his youngest son anything under the sun, he couldn't buy him the one thing he wanted, a reason to be here. After a couple of failed suicide attempts, it says, although the black hole was still there, he had become better at skating around its event horizon. That is a beautiful way of saying something that is very hard to explain. Shusterman has a gift of writing heartbreaking moments. When the mother of one of the characters has died of the virus, when she had held the cardboard box that somehow contained her uncontainable mother and emptied it into the bay, some of the ash had blown back onto her right shoulder, clinging to the tight cotton weave. She could still smell it, musty and weak, like chalk aspiring to be charcoal. "Our final hug, baby," she could almost hear her mother say. This writer can paint a crystal-clear picture in a couple of words about someone who's in the early stages of dementia. While her social life had been miles wide, it was only inches deep. And, as mentioned, this book is full with food for thought. Sometimes I want Crown Royal more than anything. Sometimes I'm afraid, not just of dying, but of what I might lose if I recover. Worry, pain, trauma. Darkness is there for a reason. He nodded, considering that. Maybe the reason is to remind us why we need light. Another morsel to think about is the way people tend to make decisions for other people, believing that they know what's good for others, even to the level of forcing their view upon others. Also, there is much humor in this book. Because the recovery care nothing for money and material things, the stock market's worldwide collapse. There will be a steep market correction, the Wall Street Journal was saying, which was like calling the sinking of the Titanic a steep course correction. The difference was that at least the Atlantic Ocean had a bottom. All Better Now is an incredibly creative journey across morality, politics, the human condition, and ethics. Around three-quarters of the story, to me, one of the characters makes unrealistically naive decisions. Still, overall, the characters are very well portrayed. The story is captivating, but to me, the prose stands out as one of the big positives of this book. The story ends on a huge cliffhanger, so likely All Better Now is part one of a series. I don't know how many books the series will be, but the story has to continue somehow. I gave this book 89 points out of 100, which is about 3 points lower than the average rating I gave his Scythe trilogy. Even though the arc of a Scythe clearly lies closer to fantasy or science fiction, I somehow found All Better Now a little less realistic. But the writing is superb, and I'm fully sold on the imaginative powers of this writer. This accidental read made me think how nice it would be to throw in a completely unexpected read into the mix every now and then. So, from now on, once every few months or once every quarter, I will pretend I don't have any book available to read. Within that illusion, I will walk into a bookstore and pick one I will read immediately. This time, it worked out well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until we meet again at Dutch Greybeard.